Well, I should have went and saw Tenet. Hey guys, welcome back to some more Hot Fresh Popcorn. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm doing a new review this time of the New Mutants. Just got back literally like 30 minutes ago. And well, at least you won't be considered the last worst installment of the franchise. Yeah guys, this movie did not need to be made. It was just weird across the board. Didn't feel really all that cool. Honestly, it reminded me of Elektra. I don't know if you guys remember that movie growing up at all, but it just had that feel and the tone of it and the pace of it. I just wasn't digging it. They just really had no business making it. It could have been good if it would have been like a miniseries on Netflix or something like that. I could have seen that maybe happening. They could have split up the episodes, but it was boring all the way throughout. And it's supposed to be an X-Men movie, but the only reason it feels like X-Men movie at all because there's powers involved with it. These people, and they talk about them being mutants. And it just was very, very mediocre. It honestly felt like a January movie. It shouldn't have come out in August. And I know it wasn't originally supposed to come out in August because of COVID. They should have never released this movie in the theaters to begin with. And the fact that it went through so many reshoots back and forth, and is it gonna come out? Is it not gonna come out? When Disney bought Fox, it was just like, should we release it or not? I mean, this movie was made 5 years ago. I mean, that's literally how old it is. If you look at all the actors from now to then, none of them look the same at all anymore. But the Demon Bear storyline, I mean, look, this is gonna be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry about me spoiling anything. But we do know it's about the Demon Bear storyline. And look, this movie was made for X-Men fans. If you were a casual and you were somebody that just loved the first few X-Men films or just loved the X-Men movies in general but didn't read comics, you're gonna hate this movie. You're not gonna like anything about it because they do try to connect it, and while they try to connect it, it doesn't feel connected to the other films. Say what you will about the other X-Men movies, while they're up and down, continuities all over the place, they all still feel kind of like the same tone. This did not feel anything like that. They try to go this like horror movie route with it that doesn't really work. Like they advertise, oh, scary. And there's some moments in it that are creepy, but it doesn't even have enough of that in there. There's a ton of just weird, boring dialogue throughout, and it's like some try to be character development moments, but you just don't care. And they start introducing you to the individual's character's powers throughout the film. I found myself the whole time thinking that like, hey, this is a good graphic novel. It just shouldn't have been a movie. It's really confused all across the board. And you can tell that it was tampered with completely. And this final product we got is probably just a conglomeration of like 10 people's visions. And they do try to connect this to that X-Men universe that had Wolverine and all that in there. And they do something specifically to try to connect it to a previous film. And I don't know, it just felt shoehorned in there. I didn't like it. Again, it doesn't feel like the other X-Men movies. And if they would have made this like, this is just some story, this is a new thing we're telling about some other mutants, it would have worked better. But the fact they try to connect it, and that's not a secret. They've already said that this is in the old X-Men universe. As far as the cast, the girl from Game of Thrones, I mean, she's a good actor. The blonde girl in it, I mean, she's likable enough. But across the board, it was just, everybody was mediocre. I hated the lead, Danny Moonstar. I hated her character. She was annoying the whole time. And Reyes, the doctor, oh, I couldn't stand her. Completely unbelievable. One-dimensional the whole way as far as her acting. I was so annoyed by her. I didn't like this movie. Shouldn't have been made. The one creepy thing that did kind of work for me is they have these kind of like hip, cool, laid-back Slender Man looking character, like these Slender Men. You see them in the preview with the smiley mask face and they take it off and they have all those teeth. Those guys are creepy. That worked, but they were barely in the movie and I wanted to see more of that. Yeah, and one other thing I thought was interesting is there was multiple Buffy references in the movie. Not that they like talk about it, there's just one point where they show like the back of this room they're in and there's a DVD shelf and there's like a bunch of Buffy seasons. And then later on they're watching TV and they're watching Buffy. I don't know what that was about. But they really don't explain anything to you. Even by the end of the film, you get some exposition through narration and stuff like that and some storytelling, but this should have been just kept as a graphic novel that they based it off of. And they try to, touch on the whole diversity thing right now. The two main characters, both girls that hook up, so they try to cover the whole LGBTQ thing, which is good, that's great. But all of it felt like they was just forced in. None of it felt like an organic part of a story that you cared about. So overall, this movie did not need to be made. I'm glad it's over. We can just move on to the new X-Men that are coming, that are a part of the MCU. That's gonna be great to see all that interacting together. So hey, good riddance. And now, honestly, you're pretty good compared to this movie. So New Mutants, that's some empty popcorn right there. Don't go see it. Like I said, I wish I would have saw Tenet. Guys, thanks for tuning in for my first new movie review. I'm going to be doing plenty more of these, and I always planned on doing it, but, COVID. But we're going to be getting some more movies coming up, especially in October, I think. So be looking out for them. And I didn't stop my John Hughes marathon. I just wanted to get in while the iron was hot on this new movie that just came out today. So be looking out in the next day or two for the continuation of the John Hughes marathon with planes, trains, and automobiles. Guys, thanks again. Love you to death. Find us on Facebook, BrassReel Brothers. You can find me, BrassReel Bobby. You can find me at Twitter, BrassReel Bobby at BrassReel. And remember, life gives you lemons. Make some hot, fresh popcorn.